You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and I've thought this before, I will admit it, but this is the most exciting show. I can't believe what's going on. It was really, truly just supposed to be a pat on the back, a how do you do, we did our work, and now let's see what happens. But the news, with Sam Peters and what's going on, I don't know if you guys heard about April and Fleming Larson's head campaigner getting stabbed. Carrie Cox, somebody's pretending to be sending stuff on her behalf and pretending she's like a super progressive, trying to confuse voters. People are asking me, who do I vote for judge? Because it's nonpartisan and it's so important. And I can't get judges on. I've made friends with judges, but I can't have them on because they can't discuss anything. So what am I going to bring them on? To ask them what their favorite color is? But Sharelle Mendenhall and her friend, who's got an amazing story, Cynthia Portaro, is going to be on. Sam Peters is going to address some stuff. And let's just get right to it real quick. We got Infinity the Math Institute. They're going to be our lead sponsor along with someone else. Do we have that video set up? Very good. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
What's up, guys? We are Infinity, the Math Institute, located at 6370 West Flamingo Road by Torrey Pines Drive. You should come visit us or follow us on Facebook. The best tutors in Las Vegas are ready for you. Watch our videos on YouTube. And don't worry, kids, we also have Instagram. Best yet, call us at 768-1777. Because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems. You get solutions.
All right, your best bet is just go to themathinstitute.com or call or text 702-768-1777. And then, if there's anybody's mom I want to hear from, it's Jon Petrick's mom. I caught someone off guard. Play tape.
My name is Nikki Wilkie, and I'm Jon Petrick's mother. Right from the get-go, when Jon was a young boy, it was easy to see that Jon was meant to be a leader. I'm proud because Jon is not only a good businessman, but a good father, a good family man, and a good friend. I'm so proud that I'm the mother of Jon.
There you go. All right, and one other thing I got to let you guys know. I just had I don't know if you remember when Mac Miller and Timothy Treffinger did the whole dunk tank and the tank at the event. Well, the dude who brought the dunk tank was nice enough to bring the dunk tank to my school's Harvest Festival, and we had an absolute blast. And I tried to pay this guy. He wouldn't take anything. So the only thing I'm going to do, unsolicited, I just want to throw him a shout out. This guy, Eric Humes. He's a friend of Jesse Laws. He's a realtor. And he also has the dunk tank thing he's doing on the side. So if one or two of you guys could hire him for the dunk tank, that'll help let me pay my little commission to him helping out my students at my school. You could reach Eric Humes at 702-528-1500. Eric Humes, realtor and dunk tank extraordinaire. 702-528-1500. All right, got all that out the way. I got to apologize for last week. We had some problems over here. And my biggest apologies go to the fans who were always there for me live, my beautiful producer, and the guests that I kind of stood up. I've already apologized to them 12 times because I'm mortified. But nonetheless, I want to get that out of the way. We will be hearing from most of them. With a substitute, Katie Williams was really excited to talk to you about the ballot questions. Obviously, she serves our country in more ways than just the school board. You know what I'm talking about. And we got a substitute in. We got John McPhee from the McPhee family coming to talk to us about the ballot questions. That's towards the end. It's just a jam-packed episode. All right. I know, I'm late. Guys, Election Day is in 3 days. If you're like me, you have not voted yet. You're waiting till Election Day. I wish I could vote early. I want to vote early. I heard people on conservative radio saying get out and vote early because they heard of other people who voted on Election Day and somebody had already voted for them. As if I should race to the ballot box in order for my vote to count. That is not the argument you want to use with me. All right? I am more of the other camp. I like to wait till Election Day because, of course, YouTube, Facebook, of course, there's no shenanigans with the elections. But if there were, I would rather vote on Election Day so nobody knows or can prepare for any shenanigans that are obviously not happening. But as you make your way to the ballot box, and I know there are people who aren't hardcore staunch conservatives. We are starting to get out there a little bit more and more. All right? I see you guys watching. Thank you so much. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. All right? Comment, send stars. And as you guys are going to the ballot box, there are so many things that happen over these past 2 years. All right? We're going to go over my journey a little bit later. But don't forget, nobody's talking about Afghanistan. That was mortifying. I mean, that was even worse than me standing up my guest last week. That's how bad it was. Don't forget the 2020 election. Don't forget the media conglomerates that got together and they released that journal article talking about how they single-handedly saved the 2020 election by doing a bunch of things that are morally and constitutionally unjust, not right, not the way we're supposed to do it. As well as the ads that we're seeing on TV that all of us cannot wait to be over. Hear that Sigal Chada is dangerous for Nevada one more time. And the problem is it's working. That's all I hear. And Sigal Chada is wonderful. And Sigal Chada is exactly what we need. But we'll get into that later. Also, don't forget about those lockdowns. I know it's been about a year. We were locked down. There were arrows on the hallways at Walmart, all right? There were pieces of plexi. There were people in pools doing their aerobics at the senior center with plexiglass hanging from the ceiling to separate the 15, 16 people in the pool. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't get it. All right? Don't forget they closed the schools. Don't forget how much better Florida is than Nevada because they opened their schools August of 2020. We opened our schools August of 2021. Look at that. All right? Don't forget gas prices were, $2.30 or $2.34 when Trump left office? As low as $2 at one point? We were filling up the strategic reserve because we were getting at $20 a barrel of oil? And do you know, don't forget this, the Democrats who led the House and stopped some of the progress that Trump tried to make. Trump tried to fill the strategic oil reserve to capacity when oil was $20 a barrel or $40 or $35 a barrel. And the Democrats blocked it, saying that it was a bailout for the oil companies. So they wouldn't do it. And imagine Biden had that. You know what? I know Biden would have used it as an election tool. He could have doubled what he was releasing over the last 6 months to try to suppress the horrible job he's done as far as our energy policy. All right? Don't forget that fentanyl was not the number one killer of our adolescence, and now it is. Don't forget, and I want to thank you guys on Facebook. I asked the question, what do we need to remember? Of course, we know there's high gas prices. Of course, we know there's inflation. But there's these things like Afghanistan that we need to remember. And thank you for participating. All right? Don't forget about how they locked us down and they were going out. And they were making money and stock trades and going out to fancy dinners and getting their hair done when they literally made it illegal for you to do so. All right? Don't forget they came up with mandates. 100% unconstitutional, whether you're talking about state constitution or if you're talking about our nation's constitution. Don't forget that Biden is right now in the process of closing all the coal plants. Talking about how all these states and whatnot are turning to wind. Don't forget how much money the drug cartels on the Mexican border and beyond have made in the past 2 years. They are doing better than most countries, especially with our inflation and energy crisis. And what's the last one I have here? Pushing the... My son's name is John Aaron Brookhagen, J-A-B. And they weren't pushing him. They were pushing another J-A-B. And don't forget that, because it didn't work. They lied. All right? Somebody who feels, every time I talk to this guy feels exactly the way I do. It's as if you wanted to vote for Johnny Brew, if you like the way I view things with a common sense, logical approach, you got to vote for my man, Mr. Kelly Quinn. Oh, Kelly is not connected quite yet. Was he in and then he left? Is he back yet? All right. Hopefully Kelly comes in. He was telling me that he really wanted to talk about what we're talking about. And Kelly is ready on the line. Hopefully the sound and everything is ready to go. Let's give it a shot. This is Kelly Quinn. He's running an AD. Oh, my gosh. Petrick is 21. 19 is up in Mesquite. AD 5. There we go. And there's Kelly Quinn. How are you, Kelly?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I could hear you absolutely perfect. Were you able to hear what I was just talking about?
No, I didn't hear what you were talking about.
All right, well, let's get your perspective, and I could prove to the viewers. I was telling them how we seem to view a lot of things the same way, and I was going through a list of things that voters must not forget as they make their way to the ballot box on Tuesday. Of course, we know about inflation. Of course, we know about the pending nuclear Armageddon between Russia, Ukraine, and ourselves. But some of the things we may forget, I'll just give you one example. You know, Afghanistan. Nobody's talking about that horrible, mortifying tragedy of us losing troops, losing all that money, losing all that equipment. And that's one thing I want to remind voters before we get to Election Day. Well, you know, what are some things that come to your mind?
Right, exactly. That and the stuff happening in Ukraine, in our own country as well. Some of the stuff that's happening back east. You know, the whole January 6th issue, that even still our local economy and what's happening here, and especially at the local level into our schools.
Yeah, and I definitely, you know, we're going to have Jon Petrick on in a little while to talk about education because, you know, I understand that that's kind of a long-term goal, but we got to start treating it like the crisis it is, just the way we want to treat inflation or crime. We're going to need to stamp out education immediately and do something about it.
Right. And our gas prices, too. That's silly, some of the stuff that we've got going. And one of the statutes I dug into recently was the excise tax that we have here. The federal excise, if they lower that, we're not allowed to lower it with. We have to keep it at the state level.
Right, they're trying to handcuff us.
Gas prices staying up.
But I just wanted to, you know, bring you on because I missed you last week and I want to make sure to give you that opportunity. Where can people find out more about AD5 and Kelly Quinn?
You know, my website is quinnfornv.com and my phone number is 702-806-7838. I know you've got a great lineup tonight with Sam Peters and Sharelle and Dr. John, so I don't want to keep too much time on that. But one of the main things I wanted to hit on, though, real quick, is what's happening at the polls, especially with the early voting. we've been out there every day during early voting. There's a good turnout. There's a good showing. People are voting down the ticket. And we've got some good response there, but there's still a huge need to get everybody out.
Well, we are absolutely rooting for you and hoping that you win.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, give out your phone number one more time if you could.
The phone?
The phone number one more time.
702. Yeah, 702-806-7838.
Awesome, Kelly. Godspeed with the campaign. I hope Tuesday night or Wednesday we'll be declaring you the winner.
Yep, just have to get everybody out. So,
all right. Thanks, Kelly. All right, guys. That's Kelly Quinn running in 85. My apologies. And now for the main event. All right. I mean, friend of the Johnny Brew Show, Sam Peters. I mean, I mean this in the best possible light, a pretty vanilla guy. He just loves this country. He just wants to do what's right. He's not trying to be radical, explosive. He's not trying to make tabloid news. He's just trying to, like most military men would, put his head down and get the job done the best and most efficient way we could. Well, apparently, and unbeknownst to me, and, you know, not just as a media personality, but as a friend of Sam Peters, apparently Sam has been aware of problems with his opponent's marital situation. And they reached out to him, and they said, are you going to make this a campaign issue? And Sam Peters said, no, I don't need to get involved in your family stuff. You know, I could run on the issues. The last thing I want to do is start a soap opera. And nobody ever heard anything about that come out of Sam Peters' mouth, even though there were other articles that did talk about it. Well, finally, the whole thing came to a head, and it had nothing to do with Sam Peters. It had to do with Steven Horsford himself as well as his wife. And let me have you guys tell the story. Let Sam Peters tell the story right here. I got a press conference that he called about 5 or 6 days ago. Do you have that video ready? All right, play tape. Sam Peters.
Wife. First, I'll address the allegations. Yesterday morning around 6:30 a.m., Miss Douglas, my opponent's wife, posted on Twitter, a very public forum, a string of messages. And since they haven't been reported, I've made some copies of them for the media that's here today, and I'm going to read them directly because they're that important. Miss Douglas, again, Mr. Horsford's wife, tweeted yesterday morning, and I'll quote, I was just minding my business until Steven and his attorney demanded I sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, that would ban me from speaking about my 22-year marriage, his 10-year affair, and our divorce forever. It includes $10,000 in fines for each remark or social post, even to a therapist. Ms. Douglas goes on to say, I had no intention of posting anything and kept quiet the entire campaign. To think I would even want to mention his name is ridiculous. Who looks through the trash after taking it out? But I don't respond well to bullying and intimidation, so here we are. Again, these are quotes from Ms. Douglas. Bullying and intimidation. Ms. Douglas goes on to say, and he's already blaming me should he lose his race. Refuses to take responsibility for his own actions. He had hundreds of chances to do the right thing, but chose violence. These are her into signing a non-disclosure agreement about their personal relationship.
You know, and there you go. You know, he talks about intimidation and threats of violence. All right. And Sam, like I said, finally had to come forward because later on, I'm not going to play the entire press conference you could find on Sam Peters. Where you can find it is on Channel 5 or Channel 8 or Channel 13 or Channel 3. Can't find it there. Find it here on the Johnny Brew Show, and you can find it on Sam Peters' personal YouTube because nobody's interested in a woman's cry for help. They say Horsford filed in secret. His family had asked him not to file and to straighten out what's going on at home. And he not only did he not do that, but he actually filed without telling anyone. This is all according to his estranged wife. This is not anything that I've proven myself. And then Steven Horsford was on a show called Pushing the Limits with an old friend of mine. Probably one of the reasons why the Johnny Brew Show is here. Brian Shapiro. Do we have that ready? So Brian Shapiro getting the big names just like Johnny Brew. We'll have Sam Peters, and Brian Shapiro scored Steven Horsford, who responded to the Sam Peters press conference. Play tape.
The cocaine busted 20 tons. Goran Jogic, the former boxer who's from Montenegro, who's getting on a plane to Miami, mandatory 10-year sentence, could get life in prison. But I just got to say, 20 tons worth $1 billion. That ain't exactly. I just still
5 women accusing him of sexual assault or rape. Sam Peters, your opponent, has stood by Donald Trump for years now. I never saw him hold a press conference talking about Donald Trump. Do you find that interesting? And do you find it, the definition of what I would call hypocrisy?
Well, they're straight up hypocrites. They're hypocrites in a lot of different ways. But look, I will talk about a lot of things.
Yeah.
My family, the circumstances under which, we are working towards resolution is something that it is private.
Yes.
I am focused on doing that amicably. And Sam Peters or no other Republican has a right to intervene. Sonia asked early into this process to be respected and to have privacy, and they won't even give her that. They don't care about families. If they did, they'd shut up and keep my family's mouth, my family out of their mouth.
Agree.
The point of the matter is they've spent more time focusing on my family than the families who are struggling with high cost rent, families who are struggling to get back on their feet, families that are worried about, how they're going to afford to pay next month's rent. Let's talk about the Nevada family, the Nevada issues that are affecting families every single day. And if Sam Peters wants to meet me in the back to talk about my family, we'll have that conversation as well.
Understood. All right, let's talk about the issues facing this state.
And there you go.
And this.
All right. First of all, I watched that entire interview a couple of times. Steven Horsford, when he's not talking about things that he's uncomfortable talking about, he is smooth. He is a very, very good communicator and talker. And to be honest, I've seen him speak before, and I thought this before. And every time I see him in a venue like this, I'm very impressed. I mean, you talk about John Fetterman and Steven Horsford. What a freaking night and day difference. But then, when we talk about this, even in such a friendly setting, look at how angry he gets. And he's using the exact tactics that his estranged wife is accusing him of: intimidation, scare tactics, and threats. And maybe a lot of you don't know this, but I have video of Steven Horsford from like 10 years ago. He was on Dr. Phil. Play tape. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. We have one more video before we get Sam Peters on. This is going to be Steven Horsford about, I'm not sure of the date, but about 10, 12 years ago. Play tape.
I was laughing like something funny.
She's talking about the audience, that they're laughing at her.
Did you say the hoes are laughing?
Yep.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes?
Yep. Catch me outside, how about that?
Huh?
Catch me outside, how about that? Catch me outside, how about that? Catch me outside, how about that? Catch me outside, how about that?
So, I mean, I know this is a very, very serious issue. We're talking about Congress. We're about to bring Sam Peters on, but that's the only thing I could think of, and it had me chuckling all day. So I apologize to anybody I may have offended with my levity. But to find out if Sam Peters is going to catch Steven Horsford outside, it's Sam Peters himself. Welcome back to the Johnny Brew Show, Sam Peters. Catch me outside. How about that?
Johnny Brew. always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. It's just incredible to watch that. I haven't watched the whole video. My team showed me that one cut where he said, Sam Peters wants to meet me out back. We'll have that conversation. And all I could think of was, if he's trying to intimidate me, he's got the wrong cat.
And that's literally what he's being accused of.
Right. Yeah. So he answers, and it's funny. You look at the overall Democrat Party right now. What's happening? You've got President Biden accusing this guy who may or may not have broken into Pelosi's house of being a MAGA supporter, etc. They ignore the fact that he's an illegal immigrant here on a visa overstay. He can't vote here to begin with, so he's not a MAGA guy. But they're saying that our discussion, our rhetoric, are pushing these issues of violence. But nobody, like you mentioned a minute ago, nobody wants to talk about what Steven Horsford's doing. And I got to address a couple of things Horsford said. He said that we've been paying attention, too much attention to his family and their family matters. I have specifically not talked about his family for this reason. He mentioned as well that Sonia asked for privacy. While that's true, she has gone to Twitter numerous times to put it out there, not privately. So his rhetoric is nonsense. But to your point, how angry he got, if you can see just at the end of that little clip that you played, where he started looking up and to the right, and he was tense.
Yeah.
And look,
and I mean, I think it says. I think it speaks a lot about you, about how you run your campaign, and that you didn't see the entire interview. I watched it twice to prepare for our show. And, some of the things that he addresses, first of all, he addresses like red flag laws, how he wants to have red flag laws. And he's talking about red flag laws for people accused of domestic violence and with threatening and bullying behavior, literally right before he exhibits that behavior towards you and, was obviously accused of that with his estranged wife now. And as you said, she's the one who opened up the privacy can of worms. And I explained that you only went on in order to call for his resignation, not to do anything else, because that's what needs to be done. And finally, I'm losing track of all my points. And then, finally, throughout the entire interview, you need to watch it because it's not the only time he talked about kicking your ass on election day, and he kind of paused, but you saw that as well. So I mean, he's really smooth when he's talking about like programs for youth and stuff like that. He's really, really good talker. But when he starts talking about something he's not so comfortable about, not so much. If you had the opportunity to send a message back to him about him telling you to meet him outside talking about his family, how would you respond to him?
I would respond by saying this. As a federal representative, a congressman, one of the highest posts in the land, elected to represent 750,000 people in Congressional District 4, they deserve better. I would say that. And I would also say, Steven Horsford is on the edge. If he's gotten to a point, he's got a lot going on, obviously, in his family life. He's clearly not thinking straight. He's exhibiting these behaviors. I'll be honest with you, Johnny. I hope the best for Steven Horsford. The reality is, he is not fit to serve in the United States House of Representatives and represent the people of Nevada floor right now. And again, I wish the best for him. And right now, the best is for him to step aside and let somebody else step in and represent Nevada. And that's what's going to happen on November 8th on Tuesday. The people are wise to it. The people are seeing it. And, we're going to continue focusing on the issues. You mentioned a little bit ago some of the issues. Some issues you didn't mention that are the forefront of people's minds right now. Diesel, about 20 days left in our inventory in the United States on diesel. When diesel runs out, trucks stop running, trains stop running, ships stop running. That's a very big situation. There's refineries right now that are still not operational because of this administration. They've created an incredible instability in the energy market. And they're not drilling. Energy companies are not drilling because they don't know what's going to come next out of this administration. And Horsford and the Democrat Congress is doing nothing about it. More than that, one of the things that's been completely glazed over right now, and this is incredibly significant, right now, in all of these things that I just talked about, add on top of that the fact that the railroad union might strike shortly after the midterm elections because they can't come to an agreement with what's going on with the administration. There's a tentative agreement right now, but some of these unions are not buying it, and there's a very significant chance that these unions could strike if Congress doesn't act. And why Congress hasn't acted yet is baffling to me. But again, it comes down to a complicit Democrat Congress with people like Steven Horsford who have gotten way in over their heads and don't know what to do. And we need to replace
That's
them.
it. I mean, things can get worse. I mean, we can run out of diesel. We can have a railroad strike. And, people don't realize how important diesel and railroads are to our everyday life. Democrats, and you brought up, that's what I forgot to say before, is, Democrats are running on January 6th. They're running, and Horsford talked at length about that. They're running on abortion. They're running on protecting our democracy when we're actually a democratic republic, but that's, for another day. And you bring up
Remember when we handed out 250 constitutions a couple weeks ago?
Indeed. I mean, and that's not even the law of the land. That's just outlining what God has granted us and what all human beings should enjoy, including our freedom of speech, our freedom to bear arms and protect ourselves and so on and so forth. Sam, I also noticed at the press conference, you were very sensitive to, I believe her name is Sonia, the estranged wife of Mr. Horsford. So, when we're talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say anything, because I know you're trying to, the only reason you came out is because she broke the silence and you're trying to advocate for her a little bit and just get her message out and call for his thing. Do you have a message for her or anything? Because I know you said you didn't reach out or nothing like that.
Yeah. We haven't reached out to Sonia or anybody out there or his family for any of his family for that matter. And here's what I said in the press conference. I'll say it again. I wish the best for Sonia and her children. I hope they can mend. I hope they can grow as a family. And whether that's with Steven or not, that's up to them. That is not our ballgame. That is not what we're talking about. But I want to reiterate. She has not asked for privacy lately. She's asked for accountability. A number of times.
Indeed.
She's asked for be accountable for his actions. And as she mentioned in those tweets that I read, he's refused to accept responsibility for his actions. And he did it again when he made that veiled threat to meet me out back.
Right.
And you know what? We're going to hold him accountable on Tuesday. And that's the reality.
So you don't want to go out back?
You know what? I will. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
I want to say. I do want to make one comment about one of the things he said, and I know you're short on time, but
I am, and I have one more question. I hope Dr. Jon Petrick, he's next.
Real quick. Steven Horsford said that the Republicans don't like families. We're hypocrites, and we've been trying to destroy families, etc. The Democrat parties has been destroying families with government intervention since the early 60s. His comments are completely off base, and it shows just how out of touch he really is.
Right, and I would go back a lot further than that, whether you're talking about Margaret Sanger or you're talking about Woodrow Wilson. Again, we're going to have to say that for one of our 90-minute talks. My last question, though, I want to address this, and it really upsets me, and he's going around talking about how you accepted PPP money. I know we addressed this. We talked how that money went to your employees, not even you as an employee, but only people outside your family that you employ in your small business. He continues to go around saying that, and I feel like they're saying that if they're going to run these socialist policies or they're going to run these, cash grabs, that now if you're a Republican, you shouldn't even qualify for it. So only people who support their nonsense should even get to enjoy the fruits of the trillions of dollars there, making it rain, What would you respond to those? Because he went off on that quite a bit in the interview as well. I wanted to give you one last opportunity, not to repeat yourself from last week, but.
No, that's fine. And he talked about it in the debate as well. And you want to talk about hypocrisy. If you're going to put a law in place to, a couple of things. One, you shut down the economy, you shut down businesses, you tell people they're non-essential and they can't open their businesses, and then give them an opportunity to make sure that their employees can have food on their table, and then call them hypocrites when they exercise their right to that law. The hypocrisy knows no bounds with these folks, and it's just ridiculous. To your point, I will reiterate. We did take a PPP loan with the business. It went 100% to pay my employees in a 2-year-long shutdown where my business lost 25% of its revenue for 2 years straight. I had employees with young children that never missed an hour of pay and were able to put food on their kids in front of their kids because we did what we had to do to survive. I won't back down from that. I won't apologize for it. I will hold them account for shutting down our economy and shutting down businesses, so shame on them.
Well, I know, and maybe our viewers don't, that you've been running for this seat for about 3.5 years. I mean, you've been immersed in making sure that you learn everything you can. I know you've been to Washington. Since I've met you about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, you've been steady and true. So as a friend and, as a Republican, I wish you Godspeed and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me.
All right, and that website, Sam Peters for NV?
SamPetersForCongress.com.
Very good. Sam Peters for Congress. Thanks, Sam. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Johnny.
All right. And that's Sam Peters, obviously running up against Steven Horsford in northern Las Vegas, kind of central, the state of Nevada. And, things are looking good. But, oh my gosh, I forgot to say it. Margaret White wanted me to say, and now's the perfect time to say it. These polls are looking good, but A, they could be baloney to give us a false sense of security, and B, who knows what's going on with what, where, who, and when. So do not ever let your foot off the gas pedal. I don't care if it's 3 days after, whatever we have to do until the final tally is done. Push it real good. Thank you, Margaret White, for reminding me. Now, I've been saying, crime, we need to do something about that today. Inflation, we need to do something about that today. Mandates, unconstitutional stuff, today. But education is something we need to do as soon as possible. No more. All right? And you guys know the friend of the Johnny Brew Show, Jon Petrick, is a doctor. All right? He's a businessman. He has media experience. That's why he's so smooth in front of the camera. All right? He's got experience in everything. He's also got experience with kids and disadvantaged kids, but not so much in education. Yet, as I get to know Jon Petrick more and more, he's one of the only candidates screaming from the rooftops, education has to be fixed now and it has to be done right. So, right before Election Day, we got Dr. Jon Petrick. Am I supposed to do something? Oh, this is the education segment brought to you by Infinity.
Infinity, the Math Institute. Don't get more math problems, get solutions.
And without further ado, we're going to have Dr. Jon Petrick. Hey, John, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. Great day. We are feeling fantastic. Things are great. We walked all day today. We're feeling really strong. We actually cleared today. My final number was 6,377 doors I personally knocked on. So,
and that's how you win elections, right? They say knocking on doors is the best thing you can do. Look at that! He's bringing out the heavy hardware now.
You know, I'm always seeking endorsements. So what I figured was what I would do was try to find, if I put on your show, kind of like the best patriotic hat, you know, which one, you know, I wish these were all endorsements, right? Where do I stand on the 2A? I realized I got a hat situation on this campaign.
That's my hat.
And then we'll end up with this one.
Beauty, beauty, beauty. And, you know, I mean, this episode is going to be crazy with this whole Sam Peters, Steven Horsford thing. So I'm sure if Trump calls before Tuesday, we'll get that video endorsement up ASAP. But I don't think you're going to need it. The reason I wanted to have you on right before the election is obviously, you know, you're one of our favorite candidates. But also, like I said, you're really taking education to the next level. You're really making it your forefront. I know that you've leaned on me and you've asked me lots of questions, and I know I'm one of only about a dozen people, you know, from James Blocky and the other person you introduced me to. I know you're going everywhere to find out more about education. Why is that so important to you, and why are you screaming that from the rooftops while people are spending $5 a gallon on gas?
Well, when I first started running for office, John, education was that same thing. Everybody said, just throw money at it, right? Just throw money at it, give more money. When you actually start to break it down, education is an incredibly complex dynamic. You have the teachers union that by every single metric has not improved the grades or the curriculum or the benefit of a student. We're spending $10,400 per pupil if you are adding all the money from the federal government everywhere. So it's not funding. We don't have any transparency or auditing ability with the school district. It's the 5th largest in the country. And unfortunately right now, if you look at from all the way down in every aspect of education, we're failing our children. Why this is so important is that I'm pro-jobs. I'm a businessman. I'm going to bring thousands of jobs throughout my political career here to Nevada. The problem that I have, John, is I'm stuck. Nobody wants to come here because we don't have a workforce for them to draw from. 2, we don't have the educated people with the skills, drills, and trades to be able to support an increase in fluctuation from a workforce. Means we need plumbers, we need welders, we need carpenters, we need electricians. We need trades.
And I heard that up at Nellis, right here in northern Las Vegas, they're having trouble finding soldiers. I mean, and these are the good kids that are joining the military or going to college. They don't know geometry. Like they can't, like they're having trouble teaching them the basics of their regular job, which was fine for the past 100 years. And now they're getting people in who they can't do the geometry. Like our education is failing us.
Well, John, you and I know we've talked about this to no end. There are some really incredibly smart people that I'm around. Some people from the banks, some people from education, some people from various different groups around the city, and they're looking at this. And I want you to realize that right now, when we're looking at education, we're looking at other areas of the country. Let's take Indianapolis, for instance. The Indianapolis School District used to be the worst in the country. They added some changes with some things you were going to propose. You know, I have a 6-year plan. For those people out there, John and I've talked about this. We have a 6-year plan to take Nevada education from the 50th to the top 25. And it's not crazy stuff. John, you and I talked about it, just as simple as taking us and getting every kid by the 5th grade to know his multiplication tables from 1 to 12. We know that we can get them up, and we're now going to be in the low 40s, just with that one application of every student. We look at discipline. We look at not every kid is cut out for college. Stop pushing them. Not every kid needs to go to a college in order to be something. The trades is way underappreciated. The trades are overlooked. And at some particular point, if we don't have proficiency, we don't have mastery. So you know I'm a huge trades person. So I have a 6-year plan. You and I have talked about it to length. It's not complete. We're still adding, filling in the buckets of the holes because there's a lot of holes in the Clark County School District. The school board, the unions, the teachers, everything is a part of it. Jon, the one thing I want to add, and I think that you'll see this, and you and I talked about this, and I think it's the biggest issue we're dealing as a country, we're dealing as a state, a city, and communities, and that is the mental health. You see it. Teachers don't want to be there. The students don't want to learn from teachers who don't want to be there. The administration is looking down on their teachers because now it's the administration versus the teachers. The parents don't support the teachers. The parents don't support the students. You know that because there's no discipline. So when you look at school in Nevada is a mess. Until tough people do tough things with tough decisions, it's never going to change. My 6-year plan, Jon, it's something that's spot on. It's going to take some work. It's going to take work on all sides, but we can get it done. We'll be in the top 25 in 6 years.
Well, God bless you, Jon. And, I'm trying to a little bit mute my involvement in it, but I got a little giddy. And I just want you guys to know that are watching that if you see something that raises the expectation of all students in Nevada and you find out that I had something to do with that, let that be Johnny Brew's legacy because, oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely wonderful. Well, Dr. Jon, I don't want to talk about how confident I am you're going to win because I wouldn't want one person to stay home and people are nervous that if I get too excited that people will feel comfortable. So we're going to talk about you being down about needing 10 more votes. So you people watching the Johnny Brew Show got to get out and vote for Dr. Jon. You got a parting comment and a website or anything you want to say before we let you go before Election Day?
Absolutely. You can find me at drjon4 Nevada spelled out.com. And I have something really big, Jon. I have a way of getting the people of Nevada, my district, and all of Nevada GOP. I'm going to get them connected. They're going to be connected, and they're going to stay connected to local politics. I have something really incredible for the viewers, for all the people listening to this show. The Nevada GOP is going to do something that nobody else in the country is doing. We're going to provide transparency from the legislation directly into the homes of every single Nevadan who signs up for free. 100% free. It's a new platform. It's coming out. I'm going to be helping this group launch it. It's for the Nevada GOP, uncensored, totally safe. No nudity, no acts and threats of violence are the only protocols. We got this. Stay connected, get connected, be connected. You're going to love this.
Good stuff, Jon. And, we've been talking about it for a while, having some sort of network where we could all have one spot. Of course, we're still going to watch Fox News, and of course, we're going to still use our Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, whatever your flavor is. But to have one hub where we could all be uniform and find out from one source, and anybody could get in touch with you or me or anybody else. But I just want to give you
anybody. The Joey Gilberts, the Johnny Brews, all of these podcasters are going to be able to come over there, and they're all going to be able to get all of their information from these individuals for free in one place. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. And my last thing I want to say is a shout out to, of all my 2 years doing this with you guys, Dr. Jon Petrick and Joey Gilbert, I must say, were the two candidates who really leaned on me the most and asked me the most about what Nevada education needs, and they were the most earnest in their efforts to help. So Godspeed with the campaign, and on Tuesday or early Wednesday morning, we'll be congratulating you, I hope.
You coming over? You going to be here? Come on.
It's still up in the air. It's literally still up in the air. I'm either going to be right here or I'm going to be right there. One or the other.
All right, buddy.
All
I
right.
got plenty of food. Everybody's welcome.
Way to
If
put me
you're
on the
for
spot.
GOP, you're welcome in my home.
All right, Jon. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon. All right, everybody. Now, I'm cruising right along. I'm sorry I'm running just a little bit behind, but everybody has been asking me, who to vote for judge. And the reason is because everybody, a lot of people want to vote up and down the ticket red, but we know that the school board is a nonpartisan race. A lot of the other races you might find, especially the judges, are also nonpartisan. And people don't want these radical, lefty, progressive, no bail, bail reform, criminal justice reform, restorative justice judges in the courtrooms. We want judges who just simply follow the rule of law, whatever that may be in the Constitution or whatever laws are passed by the legislature. The judge's job is to interpret it as simply and as directly and as succinctly as possible. And we do not want to end up in a situation that they have going on in places like New York and California, where they're inundated with radical progressive judges. All right, so I asked Sharelle Mendenhall to come join us because she's been really doing a lot of research on it. And she said to me that not only has she been doing a lot of research, but she's been getting a lot of her information from Cynthia Portaro, who's a very interesting woman. So we're going to be bringing on both Sharelle and Cynthia, I believe. Hey, there's Sharelle. How are you, Sharelle? Having trouble hearing you. Nope, still not hearing you. You look pretty. I see your lips moving. Yeah, no good. No, I can't say. Oh, you can bring her on. And this is Cynthia Portaro. I guess Sharelle's going to go and reboot. How are you, Cynthia?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I'm excited about this election and
good. And your audio and video look wonderful. For those of you who don't know, Cynthia is a friend of Sharelle's. And the reason that she got so involved in activism and discovering what judges would be best for what positions and what judges we really need to vote out is she's actually got a very tragic story. And I didn't want to say it wrong. So, Cynthia, would you just share with some of the people, you know, what you went through tragically and what it has led to?
well, my son was murdered in 2011 by a young man that should have been in prison. And 4 days prior to the murder, he had robbed another gentleman at gunpoint, and the guy was able to get away, but he didn't steal his car. And so I just became an advocate against the judges that are letting criminals out of jail for unbeknownst reason, not only letting them out, but they're giving them $1 bail, some even with horrific crimes, $1,000 bail. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're not keeping our people off the street that don't belong on the street, that are recommitting crime after crime after crime. And it's the judges. It's the judges that are letting them out. Then the police have to go find them again. They have to get warrants out again. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous what the system has become. And so I take time out of my crazy life to get to know the judges, to meet the judges, to talk to people about them, to know who they are, to find out what they stand for, to find out what they're going to do for our city when they sit behind that bench.
Well, before we're going to start going through these all, and I just want to just know if I have Sharelle's audio working. How you doing, Sharelle?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Hello, Sharelle. You look like you're in a. You look like you're at a. What are they called? The competition.
Yes. I actually left and, took the eyelashes off, but I'm here. I would be in bed already if it wasn't for my commitment to you guys. I want to kind of do a couple of associations, and that's really what I want to contribute tonight, just as far as the judges are concerned. Two of the top reasons people are voting is economy and safe communities. They care about their family, care about safe communities. And so often people associate the police with safe communities. Well, in reality, it's the judge, because the police can put whoever they want behind bars. But guess what?
They're one part of the system.
They're one part of the system, and yes, they're very integral. But we need to take this a step farther, and so many people have not paid attention, and so many people that I've talked to have repeatedly said, I don't know who to vote for. I vote for the person I've seen the most, or I just completely abstain from judges. And I was like, do you guys realize that now people are starting to watch because they've seen the power the Supreme Court has by upholding the Constitution?
Good.
And you mentioned that, that's really what it should
That's
be
it.
about, is upholding the Constitution. It should be, even if they disagree, the Constitution is the law of the land.
Keep
and
it
that is
simple.
what we need to govern by.
Indeed. All right, so let's go through some of these, and either one of you could answer. But, I mean, we got a lot of... Go ahead.
I'm going to have Cynthia... Yeah, I'm going to have Cynthia run through it all. I just want to say one more thing, as we're going through, Johnny, sorry, is there's quite a few of these that, are kind of the underdog, so to speak. Ashley goes through them, but these are the right ones, and I need you to get out, and I need you to grab every single one of your friends and make sure you vote for these judges.
And I'm going to need you guys to grab a pen. Grab a pen and paper and write this down. All right? Well, first of all, I was very excited to see the first person on your list because, again, I don't have judges on because they won't let me ask them anything because of their rules of you can't, give your opinion on, say abortion in case an abortion case comes, But a friend of the Johnny Brew shows is Deborah Westbrook. Can you tell us a little bit about why Deborah Westbrook is one of your favorites?
Well, number one, she supports our Constitution, and she believes in the right of us. And when she's sitting behind that bench, she's going to represent us by the Constitution. And I will tell you, too, to vote no on all three of those questions.
That's
They're
right.
all in regards to our Constitution.
Very good. And also, yes, as far as the ballot questions are, we're going to have John McPhee on talking about it later. But when in doubt, just listen to Nancy Reagan, right? Just say no. All right. In District Court Judge...
No, I love Nancy.
And then we have District 9, Department 9 District Court Judge. You say Maria Gall, who's a super conservative, going against Levitt. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. And Maria's a tough on crime, conservative, and her opponent, Levitt, he changed from being a Democrat in his party to NA because he wanted to run.
District Court Judge, Department 11, you have Ellie Rouhani.
Ellie Rouhani is a strong conservative judge. She's a very, very, I want to say goes by the Constitution. And she's also supported by the NRC. And her opponent, Albertson, I liked her. I met her. I even actually prayed for her. And she's on a little bit of a Christian liberal side. So that's why I went with Ellie.
What's Christian liberal mean? Does that mean like...
I'm a Christian. I'm not going to, hide that. But I'm a very strong conservative. There's no fence that I can sit on. I have to be on the side of the conservative people. But when somebody tells me, well, I'm for abortion, I'm for this, I'm for that,
yeah, that's
I
all
can't
right.
support you.
That's what a liberal Christian is. All right. I wouldn't necessarily call that anything Christian.
And I even know pastors that are running churches that have that same.
I mean, it's one thing to understand the law of the land and that we're a Christian inspired nation. We're not a Christian nation, so we can't. And then we can have these arguments, and you could say you understand the arguments, but if you're a Christian, obviously you should have some sort of inkling towards all life, whether it's bacteria on Mars or a heartbeat here in a mother's womb. We're getting too far off.
It's the Sixth Commandment.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No, what were you? Now you got me interested.
I said it's the Sixth Commandment.
Oh, the Sixth Commandment. Very good. And then District Court Department 17, Lindsay Moores. tough on crime?
Correct.
Was a public defender?
She's a public defender, and she's primarily into protecting our children against sex crime. She's very strong on that.
And what about Adam Gantz or Schwartz?
Yeah, Schwartz is a Masto supporter.
And that's everything you need to know?
And then Adam Gantz, I studied on him and talked to him on the phone, and he's a little unconcerned about the gender factor in our nation. So,
okay, and then
I need to have budgets that are going to be tough,
right? And especially now,
and have wishy-washy.
Well, this day and age, and especially with me, this is something that hits home. Family court judge and stuff like that. In Department A, you have Mari Parladi. Okay, can you tell us about her?
Yeah, she's running against 5 opponents, and they don't have enough to sit behind a family court bench. Mari is an over-the-top conservative and will fight for our family. And not just because she's a conservative, but her concern is for the family. She wants to do programs to build the family. And I like that. She just doesn't want to sit behind a bench and say, oh, you go do this and you go do that. She wants to build families. And I totally trust her wholeheartedly to judge fairly for this position. And I have personally gotten to know her over the campaign trail, and I wouldn't want anybody else represented our family division.
All right, Constable, Las Vegas Township Department 6, you say Jessica Goody?
Yeah, this is a civil department, and I think we need judges that have the civil experience handling these types of cases when they'll be deciding. And Gonzalez, for me, was just too liberal. And Department 6 may be handling criminal cases, according to a quote I read from Gonzalez. And we have to have people tough on crime.
I agree 100%, especially this day and age. I mean, we've seen too much liberal and progressive policy negatively affect regular families, especially lower income and people of color and everything else. The crime stays in those areas, and the people who we're trying to help the most or are supposed to be helping the most are the people who are getting hit by stray bullets or getting carjacked at a gas station. I see you're a big...
Yeah, and I do want to add to that. They talk about, well, we don't have room. And I say, our tax dollars could be spent a lot better than they are right now by building room.
Right.
I don't care where you put them, but they need to be locked up until they are tried. And if they're not guilty, then that's a different story.
Well, if they're violent, right? I mean, if they got busted for shooting heroin for the 3rd time and they're supposed to go to jail, but they're packed, we should get that person the help they need. But if we let that non-violent drug offense not go into jail, we might be okay. But if somebody carjacks or rapes or holds a gun in somebody's face, they need to be taken off the street until we're confident that they're not a menace to society. Oh, that's just my opinion.
And there are programs in our prison system that are really, really good for those transformations.
Cynthia, I have to move. I'm sorry. Cynthia, I want to get through the names. What you're saying is wonderful, but we have to move. Amy Wilson, Justice of the Peace Department 7, you're a big fan of.
Yeah, Amy Wilson, across the board. She's tough on crime. She's the kind of judge we need. Max Berkeley is the son of Shelley Berkeley.
And that's enough.
I heard him speak. And he couldn't put 2 sentences together.
Danielle Piper Choi, is it? Department 9?
Chayo.
Chayo, it's just like it looks, Chayo.
I personally have taken the time to get to know her and hear her, and her plans are that sitting on the bench. And she wants to save our city from these horrendous crimes that are happening. And in Las Vegas. And I will tell you that even the people down at the courthouse, they called Joe Bonaventure, let him go, Joe. He just lets him go and back on the street. He doesn't want to deal with it. He just lets him go. And
Justice of the Peace, Department 10, Noreen DeMonte.
Yeah, she's a strong prosecutor, and she's an attorney who is the one that some of you may know who Prentice Bates is. He is the criminal that killed somebody in a DUI in 2013, and Judge Christie let him out of jail, and there's a long story behind that, but he went out and killed trying to remember, DeMar Sims, 40-year-old family man.
And what about Sybil Dotson? Sybil Dotson?
Well, she doesn't have a strong enough endorsement as Noreen does. I looked at her endorsements. I mean, she's endorsed by the Review Journal. She's not endorsed by the public Defense Department and the veterans and the Metro Police Department and the DAs at the courthouse. So I didn't choose her.
And one last one, we got Susan Backham in Department 13.
Yeah. We need to keep her on her seat. Susan is doing an amazing job. I followed her. I know her, through doing what I do, and she's done an incredible job on her current term. And she's already proven herself as a judge with a sound judgment. And Rebecca Sachs, she's already facing the ethic complaint committee regarding an email that she sent out. Well, somebody tells me there's ethic issue there, then I'm going to go with the strong one.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through your entire list of all the other races. But if there was one other person...
Listen, can I say one more thing?
I was going to say, if there's one more thing you got to say. Say that one more time.
They can go to CynthiaPotero.com and the list is on there.
Beautiful. Just as you spelled it on your name tag right there. And once again, I'm sorry about your story, but I'm glad that we have you fighting with us. And most of all, we appreciate the information because I've been getting a lot of calls regarding who to vote for judge. And the more conservative, the better these days because we're going a little too far in the other direction.
Yeah, and thank you for doing the show, Johnny.
My pleasure, Cynthia. You're always welcome. Thank you. That's Cynthia Portaro, and a special thank you to Sharelle Mendenhall, who is in the middle of a pageant, along with other friend of the Johnny Brew Show, Miss USO 18 United States of America, Vasilia Boskovic. So those are my favorite two beauty queens, of course, Sharelle and Vasilia. All right, so I got some stuff to do, but I'm going to skip this quick because I am running so far behind schedule, all right? If it's okay with you, I'd like to just skip ahead to Lydia. All right, let me tell you guys a quick story. I'm going to tell you this as quick as possible, all right? 2 years ago, actually, bring up the picture if you don't mind. From 2 years ago, I have a couple of pictures. You got what I'm talking about? 2 years ago, I was looking through some of my Facebook memories, and I think it was back in October, 2 years ago. I was talking about what we were going through on Election Day and how I really, really wished we could vote for a new governor. And we have that opportunity now. We have that opportunity now to get that new governor, all right? Also, I posted something the next day. It was talking about, or the next week, talking about how it's not even the Democratic Party that is our enemy or our mortal enemy. It's the media. Because they're taking the Democrat side. Now, I think the Democrats are way wrong. I think some of them are evil. I think some of them are ignorant. I think some of them meanwhile, but they're getting swept up in this radicalism. But nonetheless, we're free in this country to have radical ideas. On the right, the left, or whatever. We're free to think communism is better than capitalism. We're free to vote for Bernie Sanders or support AOC. And AOC is free to speak her mind on Instagram, no matter how much I disagree with it. And that's what I was saying. But I was so upset with the media playing these games, not even about what's most profitable, but towing the company line. And when I'm talking about the company line, I'm talking about this one world, new world, one government, Democrat Party, George Soros type thing. But I just want you to know, as I show you the evidence from 2 years ago that I had complained about the media, I did something about it. I literally started the Johnny Brew Show because of, and I had no time to do so. But something had to be done, and that's why I had it here. I'm the only one who's got Sam Peters on, telling his side of the story. How can mainstream media not want to talk about this story? It's got everything the media would ever want. It's the congressional race. So I did something about it, all right? And, last week I missed a show. We had some problems. And I've met so many wonderful people. But I wanted to give a shout out to somebody like Chris Dyer, the PAA podcast. The most irrelevant conservative podcast in Nevada. And even though he's earned that moniker, he gets up every Saturday and he does a show. He does 2 shows, 3 shows every week like clockwork. All right? And his self-deprecating humor is what's killing him because he is a great patriot trying to have some fun. All right? But his dedication to being there every week, believe me. And when you start saying stuff, oh, he does it himself, or oh, he's got an amateur setup, or oh, he's taking shortcuts to give himself the ability to do it every week. So, all joking aside, I've got so much respect for somebody. He's been doing this for like 14 years. All right? I've also met other great people. And one of the reasons why I talked about this at Patriot Impact, thank you for the armrests, I wanted to bring on Lydia Dominguez. Lydia, I met her at a Republican Chamber of Commerce meeting hosted by Mac Miller and Paul Laramie. And they asked me to MC the event. And then I got to introduce Mike McDonald. It was the first time I had ever met him. I had met Rob Kafka that day with the Patriot Impact. I met Lydia Dominguez that day. She was in the middle of writing a book about spousal abuse. And we just had Sam Peters talking about Steven Horsford's situation. And, obviously Lydia could probably contribute to that as well. I taught her students. We grew up in this thing together. Lydia is now on like Fox and Friends and CNN, and she's a Latina, but I think it's called Latinos for Laxalt. And then Lydia had a post, again, mainstream media wants nothing to do with it. But here on the Johnny Brew Show, we're going to show it. Do you have that Project Veritas video ready before I bring Lydia on? Beautiful. This is a Project Veritas video, and you guys all know how Project Veritas does their videos. Here in Nevada, all right? And here in Nevada, I don't know. If you live here in Las Vegas, you may not have noticed. But there's a lot of Hispanic people. They vote. They decide what to vote on. And they very well could be the difference in this election here in Nevada. And the Democrats know it. And this is how the Democrats feel about Hispanics or Latinos that don't vote the way they're supposed to vote, according to the Democrat Party. Play tape.
I ran into, I think we talked about it a little bit, but like multiple Hispanic Republicans. They're like, like I was shocked.
I don't know why that surprises people. Like,
well, don't they traditionally vote with us?
Have you ever like spoken to a Hispanic? Because like when you do, it makes more sense.
It makes sense, but also not at the same time because.
But then that's everybody's issue of conflating like Hispanics only care about like immigration. That's it.
And
like,
liberal.
You ever talk to like again? I come like they're just muy machismo. Like hey, I don't like gay people. And like it's just it's normal to me. Like I like it doesn't surprise me.
That part I get, but just like hearing how Republicans talk about them would just be like.
How they talk about. what's the undocumented? That's the conflation. It's
That's
not
a good
necessarily
point.
about like how legal ones. Remember, Republicans love these people. They love the good ones.
Yeah.
They just want to find a reason. That's all.
But the Hispanic Republicans, like, and then all the polls are like saying that like they're moving away from us, and I'm like, what the?
No, like if like high key, like if we lose, like they're why. Like it just put it bluntly.
For real?
Yeah. No, like if there's any reason we lose, it'll get Latino Republicans. Just because I was out on fucking Nellis when I was driving back originally when this office was closed for a little bit because the AC and the Wi-Fi were out. And out that way, I saw like in Spanish. I don't really speak, but I can read it a little bit, and it was just like the party of freedom, the party of liberty, whatnot, and it was all in Spanish. I was just like, they're talking about being pro-life and being pro-family. It was like the Latino way. I was like, oh no! Now somebody got smart enough to write that shit in Spanish.
Unbelievable. And I don't know if you guys know this, but my wife is Hispanic. My producer is Hispanic. And my next guest is Hispanic, Miss Lydia Dominguez from Latinos for Laxalt. How are you? Look at you. Look at how nice your camera and your lighting is. Have you been doing like a lot of these appearances or something?
I did. I just did one this morning for Fox and Friends.
You're such a little star. Look at you. I saw you on CNN last week, Fox and Friends this week. Good for you. And you're working with Latinos for Laxalt. How's that going?
I am. I'm volunteering for them, and it's going great. You know, meeting so many people in the campaign that don't even speak English, and they're just sick and tired of the Biden administration, and they're ready for change, both nationally and on the local level.
And then when you see this video that I saw through you, and to be honest, it's really disappointing. If you didn't send it to me, or I wasn't your Facebook friend and saw it on your page, I would have never seen it. I didn't see it from any other outlets. I don't see these things, and it blows my mind from Sam Peters to this Project Veritas video. But the video itself, that is what Latinos are for. I mean, they are for family. They are for God. They are for security. And they're really, I mean, that video really encapsulated it all. I can't believe all the Hispanics aren't, Republicans, but maybe one day that'll be the case. How did it make you feel when you hear stuff like this?
I thought it was absolutely 100% true what they said. The Democrats, the Hispanics did vote with Democrats historically. And me, myself, I voted for Obama twice. I switched over in 2015. But I was raised that way. My mom said, look, we're poor. And the Democrats are for poor people, and so we're going to be voting Democrat. And that's how I was raised. It wasn't until I just finally realized I don't support Black Lives Matter. I don't support attacking the police or going in and just attacking stores and buildings. I support the military. I was a military member for 10 years. I support, police, and I support our agencies. And I just wasn't for destroying the system, and I saw President Obama was very divisive, and I just wasn't into that. And I wanted our traditional values. I stood for it. I truly believe in God, and I truly believe in family. And it's so important in our community now. And now it's so true that
yeah, they spelled out the message clearly for us. And you could also notice how they're going to feel about Hispanics when they leave the Democratic voting bloc. Just like everything else, if you don't vote with them, then you shouldn't be qualified for the benefits that they're giving out. But I just, we're super happy when we see you on these national TV shows. You're growing the Latino base, which is really, really great. I know you're a great mom to two great kids. So I know you got your book. So anything you want to plug before I let you go?
Yeah, I do have my book, and I want to plug it in. It's called Don't Turn Back. It's about domestic violence. It's a survival guide to not turn back. Honestly, I don't even care about making money. If anybody wants a copy of that book, just reach out to me. I will give it to you for free. My website is Lydia, Lydia, Dominguez, Dominguez. And you can find a way out of a domestic violence situation. And similar to a domestic violence situation, I got myself and my family out of the Democrat emotional abusive cycle.
And for anybody watching, if you go to Google and you type in Johnny Brew, Lydia Dominguez, you'll get to see, I think we talked for like 90 minutes about your book and about a couple other things. So, good luck. I hope you're moving copies of the book and helping lots of, spouses that might be in a bad situation, as well as Latinos who might be in a bad situation looking for a way out. So you keep up the great work, and tell your kids I said hello.
Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will tell them.
All right. Thanks, Lydia. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, cruising right along, we have got a friend of the Johnny Brew Show who's running for Henderson City Council, and I had to squeeze her in today because she is running up against, I believe it's another Republican in Trish Nash, but just this past week they are sending out flyers of Carrie Cox as a progressive, as if these flyers are from Carrie Cox, and as if she's on Team AOC. They got pictures of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They have quotes from it. And then they have some sort of a Facebook post where Carrie Cox is saying, I'm a progressive leader, which I will find out from Carrie Cox if that post is actually true and whether it's taken out of context or not. So I just wanted to give Carrie an opportunity to come talk to people, because obviously the intent of these flyers is to confuse the voter. So we need to get as many people to at least understand the truth with all these horrible games the candidates are playing with each other. So right now we got Carrie Cox. Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you, Johnny?
Very good. How's your campaign going?
Well, it's going well, but this has been an interesting few days.
Yeah, so what exactly happened? It was actually, I gotta say it again, Eric Humes, this guy who, he came over, he brought the dunk tank as a charity for the kids at my school, and his phone number, if you want that dunk tank, is 702-528-1500. He's also a realtor. I don't even know if you know him, but he's a fan of yours. And he was telling me as we were doing the dunk tank thing, did you hear what kind of crap they're pulling on Carrie Cox? And well, first he felt me out. He's like, oh, who do you like in Henderson City Council? And I'm like, oh, of course, I love Carrie Cox. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I got to tell you what's going on. And he told me what was going on. Do you have that picture of the Carrie Cox flyer where they're trying to associate her with AOC? So I'm guessing this wasn't you sending out this AOC flyer.
No, this was sent out by the Advocates for Quality of Life PAC, and when you pull up the Secretary of State filing on that, it links back to Wendy DeVecchio, who happens to be the CEO of the Las Vegas Realtors Association. The address actually on the flyer is the address of the Las Vegas Real Estate Association on Rainbow Boulevard.
Well, I got a really important question then. Do you think every voter who's getting that is looking up the information that you just looked up to realize this is a Democratic tactic?
No.
So what can we do about it?
No, I don't. Well, I'm really worried actually about those that haven't reached out. So I need everybody, all of your listeners, to reach out to their friends, family members, neighbors, let them know that this did not come from me, that this is a hit piece, and may I to connect on just that. My opponent is a real estate broker, so I feel strongly after looking into all the evidence that this is coming from my opponent.
Well, in the past, I mean, we've
We
had,
did file a lawsuit.
for example, oh, good. And in the past, we've seen that like Democrats, PACs will sponsor the ultra extreme MAGA election deniers, thinking they're easier to beat in the general election. So you're just saying, because I was really sickened at just the thought that another Republican could have been doing this. Do you just think that a Democratic PAC thinks that Nash is more palatable, so they're trying to hurt you? And you're saying that you're pretty confident this wasn't something that Miss Nash did herself?
Well, I think she was involved. Her really good friend is on the board, and she's good friends with Wendy. So I think there's a big, connection there. But like I said yesterday, we did file a lawsuit. I just need everybody to understand that I would never put something out like this. That's not me at all.
What about that quote that they have you as a post from November 30th that for a progressive Henderson vote, Carrie Cox?
I did not say that, nor have I ever said that.
That's a total fabrication. Not taken out of context.
I have never said that ever, so I don't know where they're getting that from.
I mean, I know you a little bit. That's why I was thinking maybe it's, we're progressive, but in a conservative fashion. We're moving forward, or I don't even know. But I was trying to think.
Well, I don't know. I have on those static images, I actually have a media company do those. I don't have anything to do with those quotes. We're looking into whether there was something posted, but the bottom line is that I would never say something like that, or would I mean, like, that quote did not come from.
Well, I believe you. I hope the voters aren't confused, and all that hard work you've put in for the past year. I hope that this last minute attempt to smear your name is a futile, and we wish you the best of luck. And to be honest, I was pulling for you, but I was happy we were going to get a Republican. But if you suspect that that's the kind of way that some Republicans are going to act, I would definitely be 100% behind Carrie Cox, not just 91.2%.
Exactly. And just know, like I said, we're looking into that. So I don't know if that was posted on my Facebook by my media company, but I will tell you that in no way was it meant that. And also, I just wanted to mention and clarify, if I might, she's putting out that she's endorsed by police, and I get a lot of questions about that. I'm the only one endorsed by the Henderson Police Officers Supervisors Association, and those are the only two for Henderson.
That's what counts.
So just to clarify, I don't believe she's endorsed by police.
Very good. Well, Carrie, thanks for joining us. Thanks for clearing that up, and we wish you the best of luck on Tuesday.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate it so much.
It's my pleasure. Have a good one. All right, guys. We are flying through this incredible episode. I don't even have a chance to catch my breath. Our next guests are going to be, and they could probably clear this up a little bit better than me, but in 50-something years, the first husband-wife duo going for Senate/Assembly in their respective district. They do live in the same district and the same house. One is running for Senate, state Senate, and one is running for state Assembly. So without further ado, we have April and Fleming Larson. Are they there? Beautiful. Hey, guys, how are you?
How are you, Johnny?
Very good. You guys can sit right next to each other. I think you guys have met, right? Beautiful. All right. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
I want to apologize for last week for the last time. That's the last time I'm going to apologize. But I'm really sorry that it didn't work out last week. But the story that you guys told me was unbelievable. And I can't believe, just like all the other stories we're covering today, from Project Veritas to Steven Horsford, why nobody's talking about this story. You guys have a close friend and also your lead campaign guy who was doing work for you, and he was the victim of a crime. Can you describe it a little bit to us?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was approximately 3 weeks ago, and he was awaiting to do canvassing with us at a park on the northeast side of town. In Lewis Park. And the basic story is he was standing outside of his car, just waiting for us to arrive, and somebody came running up behind him and stabbed him 3 times in the backside and took off running. I got a phone call as we were in the park, and he was very calm, and he basically stated that he couldn't walk with us today, and he just stated that he had been stabbed. And we were completely mortified as soon as we showed up. Too bad she wasn't part of that.
Amazon's
Right, and that could set off a chain reaction because, what's the guy's name with Stephanie Phillips? And he's always got his little dog here. I think you guys were on their show, but I got a dog right here myself. I just don't bring him on camera, so no chain reactions. But I mean, I know you guys are conservative. You guys are, obviously had it with what you've seen. You guys have been living here in Nevada for, I think, a dozen years or so. You got a business over in California and you came here to retire, and you're trying to not let Nevada become California, which is why you came to Nevada to retire. And I think crime has something to do with it. You want to talk a little bit about your campaign, why you decided to run, and how it relates to your staffer, and we'll ask him in a moment if this was something politically motivated, a random act of violence, but tie it together with your campaign and why you came to Nevada in the first place.
Definitely. You want to share?
Yeah, we actually came to Nevada about 10 years ago. We wanted to come to a place which was safe, low cost of living, and a wonderful lifestyle that we could afford ourselves here. And that's obviously not happening anymore with inflation and crime and what we saw in 2020. And I really feel that kind of motivated us to jump in the fray here and really go after crime. Is one of my big issues, the big topics that I want to head up. We're too soft on crime. We want to end the cashless bail. Stuff like that's just really crazy to me. Why are we letting people out on cashless bail?
Right. I mean, you think about, your wife going shopping or your wife being alone or, anybody, our grandparents, our daughters, and, being in these situations, you don't want it to be like in New York where you see these random acts of violence on a daily basis. Thankfully, this is a much rarer occurrence, but increasing here in Nevada.
It absolutely is.
And then without further ado, what's your staffer's name? It's Michael Bryan or Brian Michael?
Michael Ryan.
Michael Bryan. Can we bring him on and we could hear directly from him? Michael, are you with us? Michael's striking a pose. He's either striking a pose or he's frozen.
Look, man. The three most right now in my life.
All right, you want to kick him? All right, unfortunately, Michael's connection is just a little bit spotty, but what I was going to ask Michael, maybe you guys could address it, is, do you think this was a random act of violence, or do you think this is an attack on somebody that people find conservative, whether it was because of the Larsons, or it's because that he's just a conservative or a Republican, or is this just how we're devolving? We're going to try to let Michael answer that one more time. Hey, Michael, he looks a lot better. Does he sound better?
Hello, Johnny. I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good, Michael. You sound and look great. What a harrowing experience. Can you tell us a little bit about exactly how it happened? Where were you and what exactly happened?
No, absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show. On October 1st at 9:15 a.m., I was outside my car at Lewis Family Park. And a lot of people were in the park, a lot of kids, runners, people doing their thing. And I exercised at that park as well. And about probably 5 minutes after I arrived, I was approached by an individual. I did not hear him, but all of a sudden I felt a pain in my backside. And he stabbed me 3 times. And about 10 seconds passed until I was shocked. I was stunned. And then I turned and looked back, and I never saw the person's face, but I got a pretty good look at his profile. And he was running in a westerly direction towards tree line and then went south on tree line. So there was no interaction with this individual. I was extremely shocked So I called April and Fleming, and I was stabbed, and I went home. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got home, and I'm bleeding all over the place, and called 911, and the rest is history. They took me to UMC trauma, and I got the best care. Kudos to the paramedics and first responders. They're just outstanding people.
And what about the
I'm about
investigation?
95% healed.
Any word on the investigation or who this was?
Yeah, it's still ongoing, and the suspect has been arrested. He's in Clark County Detention Center at this point, and he is suspected of killing a homeless person on October 27th, and that was at the intersection of Charleston and Sloan, right behind the indoor swap meet. So he's in jail, and his father turned him in.
This is crazy. So 4 weeks before he killed somebody, he randomly stabbed you.
Yes, and he stabbed one other person as well at Lewis Park about 2 weeks after he stabbed me.
So you 2 weeks later, somebody else 2 weeks later killed a homeless person.
That's correct.
And do you know anything about this guy? I mean, do you have any inclination? Is he, need help mentally? Or, I mean, obviously he does, but I mean, do you have any kind of motive or anything?
Well, it was reported in the RJ. So if people went into the RJ, it was on the November 2nd date.
Front page?
You'll see the headline. No, it's under the crime section.
Okay.
So
at least you're getting some coverage, thank
online,
goodness.
And they'll find it. Yes, absolutely. So he's in jail, and his court date's coming up December 5th.
And it's
I hope I get to attend.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, thank God you could attend. I mean, is it just an act of God and randomness that you're alive, like he just didn't happen to hit you?
Yes, I think it is. And I think the good Lord was looking out for me. I think my wife was looking out for me. It could have been a lot worse. I could be 6 feet under right now.
Well, I'm glad that's not the case.
So grateful. Well, thank you. I wouldn't be on your show.
Well, that's the only reason why, of course.
Your show.
You got big things to do in this life.
I have a lot to be thankful for, and I just hope with this election that we are electing the right people to serve this community, from the governor, the mansion in Carson City, the governorship, down to the various district court offices and all those races. We need people that are strong on crime, on putting people away, on being proactive for the police, greater police visibility, greater funding for the police, and fire the current politicians who are soft on crime. That's what Tuesday is going to be all about.
That's what it's about for me, Michael. And I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I appreciate you going out on behalf of the Larsons, who obviously are, great family people. And, I'm going to let you go so I could talk about you to them without you looking at me.
Okay. Can I do one thing?
Anything you'd like.
Okay, here they are. Here they are. Can you all see it?
We can see it perfectly.
There they are.
Very good.
Coming in April. Knock them out of the park.
Good. I hope one day if I run, I got people like you got my back. So, Godspeed.
Yes. Well,
Godspeed in your recovery.
Yes. Thank you, Johnny.
And,
thank you.
Fleming and April, I just want to say, I've only met you 3 or 4 times at a couple events, and you guys are always, super kind and obviously. But when I meet somebody like this guy, Michael, who doesn't seem to have a vicious or mean bone in his body. He went through this and he still got your back 100%. He feels blessed even though such tragedy betook him. And I think that, if somebody like that is willing to go to bat for you guys, I think that speaks about your character as well. What do you think about what he's been through and what he said about you guys?
Oh, it really is amazing what he went through. And we are really blessed that he's still with us. and he's still on our team. And I can rest assured when we get to Carson City, that there's not going to be a legislator that's going to be tougher on crime than we are.
Correct.
Good. And where can people find out more about you guys?
Well, before we get to that, our website, I want to let you know that we have a friend who's a retired judge here in Henderson who just retired. And he's going to head up a committee with some of the prosecutors and judges that you spoke about earlier with Cynthia. We can name names right now. We're forming a committee so we can really go after this soft on crime. So we can go after the corporate child predator law. We can go after sex traffickers. We can go after the fentanyl traffickers.
Correct.
We are going to be so tough on crime that criminals are going to be sorry they stepped foot in our state.
Amen.
And I like these, committees of, people who are really concerned about common sense solutions that you guys seem to be forming. If you have anybody that wants to get involved and is qualified to do the same thing about education, you just send them my way, give them my number or give them my phone number. We'll get you guys on crime and me and Petrick on education, and we'll get a couple of people on the cost of living here in Nevada, and maybe together we could really turn this state around.
Well, I don't know if you know a little bit about us, Johnny, but my wife and I own a chain of steakhouses in California. So we've had tens of thousands of employees. We've negotiated hundreds of contracts. So when it comes to fiscal responsibility, we'll be number one.
Well, I don't know if you know this. I discovered all this about you guys on the most irrelevant podcast for conservatives in Nevada, the PAA podcast. Chris Dye, he's a big fan of you guys as well. I don't know if you watch it, but he was sharing about, your beautiful steakhouses. They had pictures of your steakhouses showing how beautiful they were. And, so we got to learn a lot about you. And you guys really seem like a good, business-oriented, Christian, conservative family. And, that's just our speed here on the Johnny Bruce Show. So after you guys win election, we're going to expect to have you back. We got big plans for you guys.
Definitely. Thank
All right.
you so much for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. My wife over there in the back says, if you guys are ever, send us a business card, is what she means to say. Because on our way out to California, we're going to want to hit something up.
So to answer your question before, you can get a hold of us, April's website at vote4Aprillarson.com. And then my website is vote4 Fleming with 2 M's. Larson with an E.com.
Very good, guys, and Godspeed with your candidacy. I hope we got great news on Tuesday, and I hope you guys, let's finish off with that. How long has it been since a husband and wife have served in legislature at the same time?
Well, currently they've actually have a couple that are serving together. It's the Hansons, Ira and Alexis. Ira is a senator, and his wife Alexis is assemblywoman.
So it's going to be the Hansons and the Larsons. If that doesn't sound like a sitcom, I don't know what does.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, well, good luck, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
My pleasure.
Good night, everyone.
All right, guys. And I know I'm running late. I want to apologize to anybody who's been specifically waiting for just this segment, or especially my guest who's been waiting. I was supposed to have him on. I think I told him 8:15, and now we're going on. It's almost 9 o'clock. But I am lucky enough to have the technical director of the Clark County Republican, a member of the McPhee family, Jon McPhee, and his family is trying to raise awareness about what's going on these ballot questions. They have a special message specifically for ballot question 1, but he is familiar with the other 2 ballot questions, and we're going to explain to you why we are going to follow the Nancy Reagan mantra regarding Nevada ballot questions. Just say no. So, without further ado, let's welcome the technical director of the CCRP, Mr. Jon McPhee. John, all right, you see, I told you I was talking to you on the phone. I was like, I bet you I know who you are. Now I see your face, I realize I do know who you are.
Thank you for having me on the show.
No, it's my pleasure. It's definitely my pleasure. I got some pictures. Let's start off with your bread and butter. We're going to be talking about ballot question number 1. Let me read it to the viewers.
I love your line by Nancy Reagan, just say no.
You like that, right? You can remember that.
Short answer.
It's
Now
all
we're gonna
about the
give you
branding.
The long answer, the reasoning behind it. Exactly.
So, state question number 1. Shall the Nevada Constitution be amended by adding a specific guarantee that equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by this state or any of its cities, counties, or other political subdivisions on account of race, color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, age, disability, ancestry, or national origin? Now, my question for you, John, is I believe this is covered by the Bill of Rights, the Federal Bill of Rights, which trumps everything that we have. No matter what laws you write, no matter what a judge says, the Constitution is the law of the land. And I felt like we had this taken care of already. Why is it that they're trying to propose a ballot question that says that we're going to have equality of rights under the law? That confuses me.
Well, who isn't for equal rights, right? I mean, everybody wants to be treated equally under the law.
Indeed.
And yet, what this is doing is, under the guise of equal rights, they're trying to give special rights for certain things, and with language that could be broadly interpreted by judges. So, for example, this language is going to make it easier for judges to, not to keep biological men out of women's sports. It's going to make it harder to keep boys out of girls' bathrooms.
I mean, with all due respect, I hate to say it, but I would think that something like this would protect girls in their sports or stuff like that. Like what you're saying, I understand they're twisting.
Yeah, but it doesn't. When you look at the fine print there, by giving special rights, to all of those different groups, it makes it easier to interpret that so broadly. It's really bad.
Right. Well, what is sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression? I mean, when I first started the Johnny Brew Show, I think there was about 88 of them. They use like a plus sign to include the last 7 or 8 dozen. I'm guessing they expand. It's kind of like a stop sign. You see them expand, but you never see one go away.
At this point.
We haven't lost pansexuality or anything like that yet. So that's what you believe they're doing, or is this something that has been written about? I mean, where are you getting this insinuation that this is the ultimate goal?
Yeah, so this is one of the things. Melissa Clement with Nevada Right to Life has done a great job putting out some literature. In fact, we're going to be helping distribute some flyers that they've provided to church parking lots across the Vegas Valley tomorrow morning. We're planning to hit 80 to 90 churches across the Las Vegas Valley with some of the information about these points so that people can make an informed decision. Because just looking at the surface of it, right, who isn't for equal rights? You start looking at the fine print, reading what's actually happening behind this measure, and it looks...
I got to interrupt you, John. I'm reading this again, and there's something missing. It says race, color, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, disability, ancestry, or national origin. For some reason, it's starkly absent of religion. I mean, what if I don't want my daughter to be in a locker room with a man? Or what if I don't want my child to be subjected to hormone therapy or a JAB or a VAX without my permission because of my religion, say? I've noticed that the word religion isn't there, and that's the first time I'm noticing.
I don't see any religious exemption there either. So you go back to some of the cases that have made the news recently, where people didn't want to, bake or to provide certain services to things that they did not agree in. Where's the religious exemption there? I don't see it in this amendment to the Nevada Constitution.
It seems like religion is...
Just listen to Nancy Reagan, just say no.
I mean, because back in the day, equality and everything, equal rights used to almost revolve around including religion for worshippers of Islam or Jews or Christians, yada, yada, yada.
For sure. That's definitely an important aspect, and it's being left out of this.
All right, moving on to state question number 2. It's a, shall the Nevada Constitution be amended to establish the state's minimum wage that employers must pay to certain employees at a rate of $12 per hour worked, subject to applicable increases above that $12 rate provided by federal law or enacted by the legislature. Remove the existing provisions setting different rates for the minimum wage based on whether the employer offers certain health benefits to such employees. And 3, remove the existing provisions for adjusting the minimum wage based on applicable increases in the cost of living. So, again, this is a just say no thing. Why is it that they're always trying to build the minimum wage and almost, in my opinion, this has been my argument all along, price out 16-year-olds who want to work out Burger King for $8, $9 an hour, or work at the mall, or whatever it is that's entry level for a 16-year-old?
You know, they are pricing out a lot of those minimum wage workers. But before we go on to the Second Amendment or the second ballot question here, just kind of going back to the first one here, a number of people have asked me, well, doesn't it have to appear on the ballot again before it actually goes into the Constitution on that question 1? And that's a really good question, because, you know, that does either have to go through the ballot twice, or it has to be passed in 2 legislative sessions, which has happened. So it was passed in 2 legislative sessions. One of those was in 2020 when people couldn't attend those legislative sessions in person. So that's how it's on the ballot. If it goes through on the ballot this time, then it's final. It goes into the Constitution. You got to go through those 2 sessions again.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
You know, getting enough signatures to get it back on the ballot.
So it already went through in 18 and 20, or they're trying to make it go through in 20 and then 21 and then 23. Or they already.
This is talking about question 1 again. It's already been through the legislature twice. Now it's on the ballot.
So this is a final thing.
This is the real deal.
Because those are your 2 different ways of doing it. That's the way to get it on there once and be done. Got you. All right, but go into question 2 then about the minimum wage.
On to question 2, exactly. So number 1, it's penalizing the people at minimum wage level. It's keeping them out of the workforce. And you could argue that it increases unemployment among minimum wage workers who can no longer earn minimum wage. The other aspect to this question is, if we raise the minimum wage rate for employers, how are employers going to pay for it? Well, they're going to raise prices. And so we're already facing,
I think we've had enough of that.
Inflation here in Nevada. We've had enough. Exactly. And so why do you need to put it into the Constitution? Yeah.
One last thing I'd like to point out before we move on to question 3 is the stipulation. They now have it. I don't know what the minimum wage is. I think it's $8.50 or $9. But they have a stipulation that if you work full time, say for McDonald's, they could give you full health insurance and pay you $8.50 or a dollar less than minimum wage, because they're giving you that anchor, that career for a job where they're giving you health insurance. And they're taking that away. And I do believe that if employers are trying to find ways to save money, they may not want to, but the only way they could actually give the $4 or $3 raise is to take the money they were using for their health insurance and move that over to over there. And it's really not helping the population. You want to say something about that before we move on?
I think you covered it well. Yeah, that's another aspect of that minimum wage thing. They're changing something with the healthcare related aspect, and I don't have full details on that.
State question number 3. Shall the Nevada Constitution be amended to allow all Nevada voters the right to participate in open primary elections to choose candidates for the general election, in which all voters may then rank the remaining candidates by preference for the statewide offices? I'm guessing this is almost a carbon copy of what they're doing in Alaska right now?
It is similar. So they have ranked choice voting in Alaska, and then also in Maine is another state that has ranked choice voting in the general
So really
election
simple.
for state
Can you
and federal
explain
level
what that is?
Yeah, ranked choice voting is confusing to a lot of people. You take 10 people off the street, you ask them what ranked choice voting is. I doubt you would find very many, if any of them, that could answer that question. So number one, it's confusing. There has to be education that happens around it if it does go into law. Number two, it tends to water down the choices on our ballot. It makes it harder for the candidates to take a really strong position and win. So if we want to know what our candidates stand for and have a reasonable level of confidence that they're going to stick to those promises, when not compromise when they get elected, how can we be sure if the voting system itself encourages them to compromise their position during an election?
Because then all of a sudden it turns into more of a not offend campaign as opposed to stand for your values campaign. I've also heard that maybe
so it tends to water it down. They're trying to appeal to a broader spectrum.
I've heard it also enables people who could come in last place in an election to end up winning an election. And they're saying that could be happening with Murkowski right now in Alaska. How would that happen?
Yeah, so according to my understanding, what they do is they look at the results, and if no candidate has a majority, then they eliminate the candidate with the lowest support, and then they run that whole process again. So if you just voted for the top candidate of your choice, but that candidate again didn't get the majority, then your votes may be eliminated in a subsequent round.
So hypothetically speaking, say we had a presidential election and it was Trump, AOC, Bernie, and Elizabeth Warren. So Trump gets 42% and they all get 20%, but Warren goes away, then it's 42%, 30%. One goes away, and then it's 42%, 58%. So the guy who got the most votes for president wouldn't win because of the ranked choice system.
It's possible to have some strange combinations that you would not expect.
But nonetheless, we could just stick with Nancy Reagan?
Just say no. It's much easier that way. You know, you look at examples, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, both senators from respective states that have ranked choice voting. Just look at those as examples. Are they representing their districts well? Open primaries, moving on to the second issue that's kind of been included in the same umbrella under this question, open primaries kind of tend to do the same thing. You have a lot more states that have open primaries. In Nevada, we kind of in effect do, because you can change your registration, your party affiliation
so easily
on voting day. Yeah, very easily. But what that can allow the opposite party to do is to choose a candidate that they believe will be easier to beat in the general election.
And so let me see that
open
shirt.
Primaries just makes it a little bit easier to do that.
What do you got on that?
Let's see.
I got Digital Warfare Records. Oh, you're a much better patriot than me. That says it all. Do you have any other advice for voters before I let you go besides ballot questions?
On ballot question 3 there, I think election transparency is also an issue there. Many people already have concerns about election integrity, and ranked choice voting would just compound some of those issues because it's going to take more time to process. Some of the votes aren't counted when certain candidates are eliminated, and it's just harder to understand that process. And so, again, all 3 questions, no.
I like the Jim Marchand plan to go back to paper ballots. Is that his plan, or am I insinuating that?
I've heard that, yes.
Very good.
I hope he's going to make some substantial.
I'd rather regress in our voting when we used to have an election day and we used to get the results that night. That was nice.
It should be possible.
It should be possible, right? I mean, we could do a poll on Facebook in milliseconds, right?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, John. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for the information. All right, guys. So, I wanted to share just one more thing with you guys. I don't know if I gave you a picture of this, but before I let you go, I just wanted to talk about some of the... I didn't give you a picture of this, but I just want to talk about some of the things that I'm going to be voting for. Obviously, I'm going Republican up and down the ticket. You could find the CCRP recommendations. You could find the NVGOP recommendations. There's a couple things I want to point out. Number one, we need Michelle Fiore, Sigal Chada, Jim Marchand, and Andy Matthews. All right, those are less glamorous positions, but quite possibly, if we only won those 4 positions, we would change our way of life. We would start getting back to the Nevada we know and love. All right? I know Stavros Anthony better than I know Andy Matthews. And I love Stavros, and you got to go vote for Stavros. But I'm saying Treasurer, Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Controller will change our lives. All right? Guys, if I am so hopeful that we can have a sweep in the House of Representatives. But especially my friends Mark Robertson and Sam Peters. I love those guys. They are ultimate patriots. Please get them in. All right? Ballot questions, just say no. All right? Obviously, we want Adam Laxalt to take back the Senate. That's going to be very, very important. All right? As far as continuing to vote up and down Republican for everybody, I'm just mentioning a few of my favorites. I want to give a shout out to Garland Brinkley. He's a great sport. I support him. All right, Joshua Lamach in District 3, friend of the Johnny Brew Show. You can look up that interview. District 5, you saw Kelly Quinn today. Really important to me that he gets in. Tony Palmer, big fan of Tony Palmer in Assembly District 7. All right, the guy who keeps making me mess up the Larson's name, Ryan Fleming in his District 9. Sandy Hernandez, Giselle, big fan of hers. She is a wonderful, wonderful patriot. I see her at all of the things, trying to do everything she can for opening the state up, for pushing for Republicans. She's campaigning more for every other Republican than she is for herself. District 10. All right, Fleming Larson, once again, District 12. All right, obviously, we want to go with Dr. Jon Petrick. You would have never guessed, right? We got Stacey Butler's here in my district, Assembly District 35. All right, I'm never going to say nothing bad about Tiffany Jones, but I am supporting Mindy Robinson for a couple of reasons. Number one, I know she loves this country. She's a friend of mine. She's a friend of the Johnny Brew shows, and she really wants to do what's right. That's number one. I believe it in my heart of hearts. I'm a good judge of character. Number two, I believe Mindy Robinson is the great libertarian experiment. All right? This dude is not going to win the governor's race. None of the other people are going to win any of their races. Mindy Robertson. I've taken a survey. I changed my affiliation. In 2010, I took a survey. It came back. They're like, whoa, dude, you are super libertarian. I was like, oh, you don't say. I even changed my party affiliation at the DMV. I know my thoughts are libertarian. All right? I always say I love libertarians except for on election day because they take votes away from the Republicans. But no libertarian's going to win. Except maybe Mindy Robinson. And she is the great libertarian experiment. So, let's see what happens there. If Mindy Robinson can win an election and not cost a Republican election, the great libertarian experiment is a success, and maybe we can go on to see more third, fourth, fifth party candidates coming on. All right? Finally, wrap it up. Eddie Facey, friend of the Johnny Brew Show. We're pulling for him. All right. Drew Johnson, big fan. Timothy Treffinger for district attorney. Big fan. Helen Oseguera. Billy Mitchell. That guy's crazy. I never met him, but I've heard him speak. I like what he has to say. Bill Young. John Evans. I wanted to have him on the show. Never got him on. County recorder. Very important. All right. Public administrator. Patsy Brown. I really wish we had Pat Casale in there. University Regents, we're going with Coach Dave Crete. He is the one important one. Henderson City Council, we are going from 91% Carrie Cox, 9% to Trish Nash, to 100% Carrie Cox. If you have the opportunity, please vote for Carrie Cox. Amy Wilson for judge. And is that it? All right, that's it for now. I just wanted to go through and I haven't endorsed anybody. I haven't done anything like that. But the friends of the Johnny Brew Show and these real patriots, I really want to help you get to know them. All right, finally, I want to hear from AG. I know you want to hear from AG. This is AG from the Western Journal, bringing us some levity, just in case you didn't like my joke about the Cash Me Outside girl. Play tape.
Hey, it's AG. Welcome to the Week in Review. Let's get right into it. A 78-year-old grandmother in Arizona was arrested for feeding homeless people at a public park. Have no fear. Drag Queen Story Hour continues this Saturday in Tempe with Lady Sandy. On Thursday, Elon Musk fired 4 top executives of Twitter's leadership after completing a deal to buy the company. Moments later, his account was suspended. City and state officials in San Francisco canceled a celebration for a $1.7 million toilet after massive online backlash. In place of the festivities will be a big party for California's biggest public toilet, Gavin Newsom. On November 1st is the Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, which is the Democrat translation for Election Day.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Katie Hobbs, the Democrat candidate for governor in Arizona, blamed a campaign headquarters break-in on her opponent, Carrie Lake. The police caught the individual and say she's not involved with Lake's campaign. Ta-da! President Biden was swiftly fact-checked when he claimed that gas costs $5 a gallon when he took office.
The most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office.
Actually, the national price of gas was $3.76 on Thursday and $2.39 when Joe took office. He's wrong so many times, even weathermen are blushing. I'm AG, that's your stories. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys. So that's it. The next time I see you, all the ballots will have been cast. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing on election night, but there will be great content one way or the other. That much I can promise you. All right? I'm beat. My throat is sore. I haven't done a show this long in a long time. Check out the PAA podcast tonight at 11. The Juggalo Patriot, the Irrelevant one. Is that what his nickname is? Irrelevant? Something like that. My name is Jon Brookhagen. Love you guys. I'll see you after the election.